New research is adding even more weight to what scientists and clinicians have suspected for years. Heavy alcohol use can do lasting and possibly irreversible damage to the brain, damage that persists long after the drinking stops. In a sobering study conducted on rats, researchers have shown that the aftereffects of alcohol exposure aren't limited to the liver or the heart. They reach deep into the brain's decision-making systems, impairing cognitive function months after withdrawal. These findings offer a grim warning about the hidden costs of alcohol use disorder and raise disturbing questions about how long the damage truly lasts. Rats in the study were subjected to high levels of alcohol exposure over the course of a month. Then they were given 3 months of sobriety. That's equivalent to years in human terms. You'd think this dry period would allow their brains to recover. But when tested on a challenging reward-based task requiring memory, adaptability, and strategy, the alcohol-exposed rats significantly underperformed compared to their sober counterparts. They struggled to make good decisions. They failed to adapt when the conditions of the task changed. Their cognitive flexibility, something vital to navigating life, was simply gone. And this wasn't about intoxication. These animals were sober. What researchers found points to long-term brain damage caused by alcohol itself, not just the immediate effects of being drunk. Using brain scans and neural recording techniques, the team zeroed in on the dorsomedial striatum, a region of the brain responsible for goal-directed behavior and decision-making. It was here that they saw striking dysfunction. Alcohol had fundamentally altered how this brain area processes information. The damage was not superficial. It was embedded in the brain's circuitry. This has staggering implications for our understanding of alcoholism. One of the cruelest aspects of alcohol use disorder is relapse. People go through rehab, get sober, try to rebuild their lives, and then fall back into drinking. The common narrative is often about willpower or personal failure. But what this study suggests is far more disturbing. The brain may no longer be equipped to make good decisions even after someone is sober. The very circuits needed to resist temptation, to think critically, to weigh consequences, these may be permanently compromised. That puts people at risk not just of returning to alcohol, but of making other poor decisions in life, struggling with work, relationships, or basic daily functioning. In essence, alcohol doesn't just hijack the brain while someone is drinking, it rewires the brain in ways that may never fully reverse. And there's more. The team found that these damaging effects were significant in male rats, raising questions about sex differences in alcohol-related brain injury. While female rats didn't show the same level of dysfunction in this particular task, researchers caution that this doesn't mean women are safe from harm. It's possible that alcohol affects female brains in different, perhaps subtler or more delayed, ways. That part remains unknown. What's clear is that no one is immune. The danger here is multifaceted. First, there's the physical toll. This study shows clear evidence that brain damage from alcohol can last months or even years. Second, there's the psychological impact, as impaired cognitive control can create a vicious cycle of relapse and self-destruction. And finally, there's the societal risk. We continue to normalize drinking, to trivialize alcohol abuse, and to underplay the severity of its effects. It's socially acceptable, widely advertised, and deeply entrenched in culture. That's what makes it so insidious. There's a fundamental disconnect between how alcohol is marketed and perceived and what the science is telling us. The alcohol industry spends billions promoting the idea that drinking is about fun, freedom, and social connection. But the reality for many is one of isolation, neural decay, and repeated failure to escape the grip of a substance that rewires their brain against their will. And these aren't abstract findings. These are real-world implications with serious public health consequences. If someone who's been sober for months is still cognitively impaired, still neurologically vulnerable to bad decisions, then how do we expect them to rejoin the world and function? Are we providing the right support, or are we pushing people back into situations their brains can no longer handle? This study is a warning, a loud, urgent warning that the damage from alcohol may last far longer than the hangover or the detox. It shows that sobriety alone may not be enough. It demands that we rethink how we treat alcohol use disorder, not as a short-term behavioral issue, but as a long-term brain disease. And it calls on us to take prevention more seriously, to recognize that every episode of binge drinking may leave behind scars that no amount of time or therapy can fully erase. We're playing with fire when we downplay alcohol's effects. And as this research shows, the burn can last a lifetime.